Hey everyone, welcome back to Period 5, a series of conversations about identity, culture, and the different ways we see the world. Today, I'm really excited to talk to my friend Andrii. He's from Ukraine and has a really thoughtful perspective on what it means to carry your roots with you, especially during such a complex time for his country. Beyond that, he's just a really interesting and kind person, and I think his story says a lot about resilience, culture, and how we navigate being part of more than one world. So let's get into it. So before we start, Andrii, do you have anything you'd like to add or share?
No, not at all. I'm glad to be invited for this. I think it's a good opportunity to speak my mind a little bit. But otherwise, yeah, I'm looking forward. I haven't had something like this happen, so I'm excited. Let's see what happens.
Hopefully this is a great first time.
Exactly.
So first of all, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most important aspects of Ukrainian culture that you feel are a big part of your identity?
There are many aspects that I think are quite important. I think just knowing that you're actual Ukrainian is quite important. You have to have that in your mind always. Even especially like living in Germany, people will ask me, "Oh, you speak German? German's so good. Why is that? Why is that?" I say, "Oh, I learned it in school." And then they would ask, "Oh, really? Where are you from?" And then I say Ukraine, and they're like, and they're shocked. They don't know this stuff. So it's more of keeping your identity, knowing your root. It's important, and yeah, also not trying to lose too much from your childhood. Since I've only lived 6 years in Ukraine, I've only kept a certain amount of my traditions. And so for me, it's really knowing that some traditions are still in place. Even basic household things have to be kept as they were. Because that's the way I grew up and that's the way I'm going to continue living. And yeah, it's just having it in your mind that you're always going to be Ukrainian, and the fact that you always have to keep a tradition is very important to me, and I've been able to do that quite well. I'm hoping to continue it as much as I can.
So given that you're representing your own country, your own culture in a foreign country, although given your time here it might not feel much foreign to you anymore, but do you feel that sometimes you often get stereotyped based on where you're from?
I mean, yeah, even though I'm not even that Ukrainian looking, some people have called me Spanish looking or Italian looking. Regardless of that, it's more of like a way of knowing, oh, you're not German. That's what separates myself from, I think, just the natives that are from here. It's quite apparent, like, for example, my football team, it's all Germans, all people who have known each other since childhood, and to fit in, it's difficult. And so obviously you're going to have a few stereotypes there and there, but often I try to manage it as much as I can, up to where if something goes extremely wrong, that I just notify my trainer of anything happening, and yeah. But otherwise, stereotypes happen. Part of like a normal day. It is what it is. You have to live with it. But I try not to take it personal. It's purely because I know they don't know what I've been through, what stories have happened to me. They don't know my situation, and so it's just a matter of forgiving them for not knowing the complete story. And I'm not that troubled with stereotypes. Not that I get many, especially in school. I'm very thankful for that, especially knowing that it's in an international community. So I'm grateful to know that not only myself is experiencing these struggles, but just other people in general. I've not really experienced much, but there are some aspects that, of course, in day-to-day lives that just happen to or so. It is what it is. Otherwise, I'm coping with it well. And yeah, not much complaining to do around that.
What you said is really relatable, especially for me, right? Because I also immigrated to Germany, right? And so I often also get stereotypes. People automatically assume where I'm from based on where I look, right? And of course, that's completely justifiable. I don't really look like the most American person, but it's something that we have to get used to. And I think you've gotten used to it really well. Of course, you've been in Germany for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, 10 years now.
Yeah. So You mentioned that you still been able to keep your Ukrainian customs and traditions, even though you've been in Germany for so long. How do you stay connected to your traditions, even though you're in a foreign country?
It's almost like a 9 to 5 if you think about it. It's almost like embedded in your day-to-day lives. So for example, even the most simple traditions, as soon as you step in the house, you take off your shoes immediately. The smallest traditions. It's so valuable in my household that it's just absolutely necessary. You can't really like forget to do it. It's over a certain amount of time that I've done it, and I'll never be able to forget of doing it. And it's like, oh, you have to make your bed, always shower, brush your teeth, eat breakfast. You have to always be in check with yourself. And yeah, it's also just, I've loved the things and traditions that I always do. I mean, the food is amazing. I have no complaints about food, soup, and everything. Brilliant. I cannot have anything better. And yeah, it's just a matter of being on track. And if you're not on track with like the traditions, then something's obviously like really bad, really going on. And then it would mostly be like my parents or someone close that would be like, oh, are you doing okay? So as long as I'm within traditions, I feel fine. I feel just where I need to be. And yeah, that's mostly it.
Yeah, I think it's like a really big problem when many times immigrants become out of touch with their culture, right? Because I've seen it in the US and also in Germany that many immigrants who come, they start to become overly integrated into the new culture, right? And they start forgetting their own traditions, their own values. But they forget that, it's our own traditions, it's our culture that's a guardrails for keeping us in check, as you mentioned, right? Without the culture that's embedded in your day-to-day lives, you couldn't really see any other way, right? And so I think it's really important, and people often forget that.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like I have seen it's become not the people that they're almost destined to be. Like they have gone completely out of track with what they actually want to be. I've seen many cases. It's sad to see.
And what is something that you wish people outside of Ukraine understood better about Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian people?
I wish they understood that Ukrainians are far beyond interesting in terms of like there's a much deeper scale that Ukrainians thrive on, and that Ukrainians are also like other people in, for example, Germany, right? It's the same exact people, right? It's just the way things are done are different. Of course, current news doesn't really help with the Ukrainian situation, of course. But it's mostly, yeah, that's just it. It's just people quickly associating Ukrainians with, oh, there's a war happening. Oh, I'm so sorry. The war is happening, of course, yes. But our lives move on. We can't just sit there and cry for it every day because, oh, the war is going on. No, we have stuff to do.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, the world can stop like clicking or something. The world can, like, the clock is stopped magically. No, of course, life moves. We have to keep pushing, keep doing what we're doing, and then eventually everything will fall into place. It's just a matter of time. And yeah, for us, it's of course difficult knowing that it's now 3 years of this war. But otherwise, we just have to learn to live with it. It's not much in our control, and we have to just be on task the entire time. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that now Ukrainian culture has completely been defined by the current events that are happening, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of the war, you mentioned how people have just associated your culture with just associated Ukraine automatically with the current events. So how has this impacted you in certain ways? Like, for example, have you been stereotyped because of the current events, or like how else has it impacted you?
I like to think of it this way. The war has gone longer and longer. I've been less stereotyped and more appreciated. I'll just keep it that way. I mean, as soon as the war started, of course, I had messages flooding in everywhere. I couldn't sleep My parents couldn't sleep. No one was sleeping in the house. Everyone was on the news. Everyone was just sad knowing what is happening and not being there.
Mhm.
And it was also like, for example, the first 2 weeks, it was thinking of plans to get our family into safety and close friends into safety. That was the most important, knowing as soon as our family members and close friends are safe, then it will be all okay. And everything will just fall into place. And yeah, as soon as we stopped mourning everything and what was happening and took matters into what we could do in our hands, we immediately felt better. We felt much more appreciated. I've seen just a drastic change in how people would react at the start of the war. Many stereotypes also from the Ukrainian side, not just the Russian side. I feel it's unfortunate because I don't think people really want to make stereotypes. I believe they're just falsely informed on what was happening.
So yeah, I can't imagine how difficult those starting few days must have been for you and your family, right?
I mean, it's not anything like I've experienced before. I mean, like to think it was 3 years ago, I was in 7th grade. So I got woken up pretty early that night that it happened. I think it was 4 or 5 a.m. that I got woken up because my mother couldn't sleep. My mother was shouting. And yeah, that was one of the toughest days lived
Yeah.
or remembered. But yeah, since then I've learned also how to emotionally control myself. A very big plus, in my opinion. I feel like I could control my emotions way better than anyone else. Not to diminish them, but it's just of these experiences. Like they separate me from so many other people who haven't really experienced war in their countries. And so I have just learned to adapt, know how to control my emotions. I also sometimes cry. It's absolutely normal, but knowing to not be extremely worried, not to overdo your thinking on the war and just letting it all play out is important for me. So yeah, I think that's just what kept me going and through all the grades. And yeah, I'm sitting here, so worked out.
And so, moving on to something a bit more similar to what we discussed in the beginning, how was growing up in a multicultural environment, right? Because you're influenced by the German society around you and also the Ukrainian family at home. So, how was growing up in this multicultural environment shaped the way you perceived yourself and your identity and your perspective?
I think as many other people who've lived in multiple countries would say, they have a more international perspective on each country. I've learned to appreciate both countries. I think Germany is a very good country to live in. It's one of the best countries in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, the most difficult bit was just the language, right? I've been used to 6 years of fully Russian, fully Ukrainian, only those three languages, English as well, starting to learn a bit. But you would never experience something than moving to a different country with a different language and you're in a completely different atmosphere with the surrounding people and how they act different. It's different. But it made me appreciate my country, Ukraine, more as well. I've learned to appreciate both countries in their own matters and also different countries. I mean, when I go traveling, for example, I've seen different atmospheres and cultures. And I think just comparing it to how it was in Ukraine and Germany, it's great to see. I mean, not much negative stuff can be said. Being involved in an international space is nice. It's very nice. especially before the war, I was visiting Ukraine constantly. Every summer, I'd go there for at least a month. And
Mhm.
every time I went there, I felt just as I was in Germany at home. Nothing really
Mhm.
changed. I've learned to adapt to both situations. And yeah, although I admit I do miss Ukraine sometimes, and I'm sometimes a little bit bored of Germany, I do still appreciate the country a lot. I appreciate for what opportunities it has given me. And yeah, just knowing and learning to appreciate is one of the most important things.
So do you feel more closely as like when you think of the word home, right? Where do you associate it with? Germany, here in Germany, where you live, or in Ukraine, where I assume your extended family is?
As of right now, I can never forget where I'm from. I'll forever
Mhm.
and ever tell everyone that I'm Ukrainian. I
Mhm.
will even if I've lived somewhere for 20 years and I've only lived in Ukraine for 6, I'll always say that I'm from Ukraine. That
Mhm.
is a number one rule for me. But Germany has become almost like a second home, I guess. We can
Mhm.
call it that way, where I've made so many new friends, I've met so many new people, and yeah, just being in a different environment is also quite refreshing. And
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like I would have loved to have more of a childhood in Ukraine. It would have been much nicer,
Mhm.
knowing the culture slightly more, because I do have slightly more and better memories in Ukraine than I do here in Germany. Purely
Mhm.
because I haven't visited the country in a long time, but also just remembering
Mhm.
when I was younger, how much fun I would have in
Mhm.
in the local park, for example, or like the theme park,
Mhm.
indoor
Mhm.
theme park in a shopping mall when I was in Ukraine, and I keep remembering, oh, how great it was, how I didn't worry about school, how
Mhm.
this. But yeah, hopefully to sometime I can visit it, and I'll
Mhm.
remember how fun it really was. And yeah, otherwise it was just the greatest.
Yeah, you can never have too much time at home, right?
Yeah, never, never. The amount I appreciate every second.
Well, so before we end off today, Andre, I just wanted to ask you if you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be and why?
I've thought of this question, but I never got to like a full 3-word answer. But I'll try. I mean, my first word would definitely be honest, perseverance, and
Mhm.
my third word will be traditional.
Traditional.
Honesty is the best policy. That's what I go for. I live by
Mhm.
perseverance. I use it just because I have so many dreams that I'm trying to achieve.
Mhm.
Whatever's in my control, I absolutely go to the full maximum of trying to complete it. And just having the drive and will to actually do it is, for me, one of my biggest strengths. And
Mhm.
if you ask it on a deeper scale with any of my friends, they'll probably say the same, because the
Mhm.
effort I put into achieving my goals is for me incredible. Playing
Mhm.
25 to 30 hours of football a week.
Mhm.
That's a half-time job right there. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of time that I waste, but it's all gonna go to something good eventually.
Well, Andre, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I really appreciate how open and thoughtful you've been. I know a lot of people will take something valuable from this, and it's stories like yours that make this project so special. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be.
Of course. Bye.